Good morning, class. We're going to continue working with Instagram, and this time we're going to talk about using hashtags. And there's a lot of reasons for using them, and a lot of ways to put them on your page. If you want them to be non-visual, you can add them in the comment section, or you can just add them in the regular after writing your post text, and then add some hashtags in there. And I had a student last semester discover that on the posts that he made in Instagram that had hashtags and rolled them over to Facebook, he always got um, more people seeing it, more people commenting on it, and so he knew it. They helped bring him up in the feed. So that's an interesting note that I didn't know, but I thought it was great. So what we're going to do first is do some research so you can kind of talk about or learn about how people use hashtags in their businesses. And one thing you'll discover is some well-known brands don't use hashtags, and they don't really need to because people already recognize their name. Like Coke wouldn't really have to, but they might add like it's the real thing or something like that because that's a tagline that they're related to. They've used it so long that you hear that and you think of Coke. So there's a lot of companies that are big that don't use it. There's some smaller companies, medium-sized companies that don't use them, and it might help them out, might get them noticed, because if somebody searches something and that's a tag that you use, it might pop you up in their feed. It might not, but it might. And so what I want you to do first is, of course, write your content in paragraphs. Please break it up so it's easier to follow along. And I want you to find 4 or 5 businesses in the same field as you are, and have some big ones, some medium-sized ones, and some small ones. So you get an idea of how different businesses of different sizes can use or not use hashtags, and if they use them well. And you want to look at what hashtags they're using too. So you want to start, I have a bunch of questions you can use to fill out the post that you write for me. And it needs to be at least 5 paragraphs long. And again, please make it into paragraphs because it makes it easier for me and obviously easier for anyone else to read. So does Instagram as a whole seem to work effectively for the company that you're checking, or businesses you're checking out? And then, are they using hashtags? Do they use them the same way in all posts? What types of hashtags are they using? How are they placing their hashtags? Again, I said you can add them into your caption area, or you can add it in as a comment if you don't want them to be visible, but they're still there. It's connected to the post. So if somebody looks something up, it'll pull it in, and they can find your content. And if you try searching with some of the hashtags they use, do they pop up as an option to see? And then, you can add some specifics about the businesses you're checking out, like how many followers do they have, so that we can get a feel for if they're a small or large business and have a small or large footprint on Instagram, and how often do they post, and what kind of content gets the most response. And again, we continually look at this stuff because it's helping you refine what you're going to do. When was their last post made? How many followers do they have in true relationship to the engagement they received on a typical post? If you say, wow, they got 25 people engaging in this, but they have thousands and thousands of followers, 25 is kind of pretty minimal. And then, do they receive many comments? And then tell me how what you've discovered can help improve your own use of Instagram. So, and list some hashtags that might work well for your business. And one thing to think about is usually you want to use some that they relate to your business, obviously, a little bit more generic, then kind of refine them in. So, because if you click on or add a hashtag, it'll generally tell you if it's one, it'll tell you how many people or how many times it's been used, thousands of times, hundreds of times. So you want to have some that are used a lot, some that have medium use, and some that have minimal use that maybe are dialed into your community and your business. But we'll get into more of that in the second part of the week. So this is what I want you to do for this part of the week. Write me a nice post after you do some research.